Hello, everyone. In the past year, we have probably been more aware than ever that the eternal rhythm of the seasons has so far kept its promise without fail. The movements of the planets can be predicted by their expected rhythms of rotation. And we know that the sun will set and the moon rise in daily rhythms. On Earth, our hearts regulate us and keep us healthy. We walk, run, and dance in rhythm. When this rhythm is upset, we experience anxiety and lose our sense of security. If we have felt anxious over the past year about unexpected events, it is because the rhythms of our lives have been interrupted. Regularity in rhythm means security. When that regularity is lost, we also lose confidence in the future. Today, I'm going to talk about how regularity and rhythmic patterns work in music and the various effects which rhythms can have on our emotions. Sounds of any sort can be consistent and regular, or sporadic and unpredictable. Repeated patterns of rhythm make us comfortable by their familiarity. Children experience an early lesson in discipline through the repeated rhythms of clapping songs and nursery rhymes. The security of knowing what will come next gives joy and confidence, even about frightening things such as spiders or people falling down hills to their deaths. Roger North, my favourite musical writer of the late 17th century, described how soothing it is to hear the regular tolling of a bell, but how disturbing to hear the banging of a door in the wind, not knowing when the next bang will come, so tensing up against the next noise. Predictable rhythm patterns make us feel secure. Rhythm also gives sounds meaning, essential for both speech, song, and dance. In speech, Cicero described how any patterns which the ear can recognize will give satisfaction. Music and speech depend on rhythmic patterns for understanding and help the listener remember what has been said and played. Added to that, a variety of rhythms holds the attention. Rhythms which are repetitive are soothing, like a chant, but they lose the active attention of the listener, perhaps even sending him to sleep. Changing the rhythm keeps the listener awake and attentive. Dances have regular phrase units like poetry, with repeated rhythmic figures which show the movements of the dance. But musical counterpoint has varying lengths, more like a conversation, prose, or oratory. Orators were recommended to vary the length of their sentences and the rhythms to hold the audience's attention. Surprises and strong contrasts would be contrived by speakers to keep people awake. These devices can be reproduced in musical composition, which imitates the tricks of rhetoric. Monteverdi wrote about what we should consider when performing his music. The rhetoric of the words dictated the choice of harmony and rhythms. It was these three factors, rhetoric, harmony, and rhythm, that formed the basis for the invention of the form we now call opera, essentially sung speech. When the effects of rhetoric, harmony, and rhythm are combined, our emotions can be profoundly affected in different ways. Monteverdi intersperses his passages of sung speech using the irregular rhythms of oratory with songs and dances using more regular rhythms and phrase structures. Our emotions are thus manipulated from one scene to the next, continually refreshed by change. Rhythm can be used to affect the emotions of the audience. You may have experienced your heart adjusting its beat to synchronize with the prevailing rhythm of the music you are hearing. Quick, short syllables, fast sounds are exciting, and slower, equal ones more soothing. Quick, short syllables sung with equal emphasis are used for comic situations such as patter songs as in Gilbert and Sullivan, or songs of the music hall entertainers. In oratory, it was considered that short syllables were generally funnier than long ones. And if we apply this principle to music, the same music can be made to sound serious by playing longer notes, or funny by playing the same notes very short and spikily. Sometimes performers fall into the trap of thinking they are being lively by playing excessively short notes, but in practice, the result is that they make the music sound comic without realizing what they're doing. Their facial expressions sometimes give this unintended consequence away, looking serious, but playing funny. Triple time is generally more light-hearted than duple, which is used for more serious music. Cicero says 2 long syllables are heavy and slow, so used for hymns and solemn occasions, and by the lullabies that nurses use to send their children to sleep. The long, short rhythm, da, 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 is grand and noble. This rhythm was used in the pavan, originally a processional dance, and later in slow movements of some of the greatest classical works, by Beethoven in the slow movement of the 7th Symphony, and by Schubert in his Death and the Maiden Quartet. Da, dum, dum, da, 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 dum, dum, da, da. Tempo, that is speed. For the ancients, the speed of performance was limited by the rate at which words could be uttered. So not gabbling, but not excessively slow either. Groups of words or notes need to be heard as units which hang together to be comprehended. Added to that, the overall speed adopted will generate certain feelings and an understanding of the text in the listener. The 18th century musician Jean-Jacques Rousseau described how the same piece of music could have different effects at various tempos. Slow, sad, slightly faster, solemn, more allegro, stately and proud, faster still, impetuous. Quantz, who was Frederick the Great's flute teacher and an important authority on performing 18th century music, thought our basic pulse should be derived from the hand of a healthy person, in other words, the heartbeat. This pulse, the tactus, is filled with either more or fewer notes to achieve a fast or slow effect. For that reason, in 17th century music, it was unnecessary to indicate the speed by words such as adagio or allegro, as the notation dictated this without further comment. When those words started to appear in printed music about 1700, they were describing what was already contained in the musical notation. Quantz considered the basic speed of a beat to be normal walking pace, from which you could either dawdle or walk a bit faster. You can try this on your next walk. Sing a piece of music to yourself and adjust your walking pace to find the best speed for it. Do you have to accelerate your natural walking pace or hold it back? You should not find it necessary to walk either very slowly or very fast. Extremely fast tempos were thought to be in bad taste. Quantz warns virtuosi, don't abuse your facility by playing too fast. Players we now call speed merchants sacrifice the musical content to their own virtuosic abilities, a fault often heard when listening to modern virtuosi violinists playing Bach, where every musical nuance is obliterated by the dazzling speed, which leaves us in breathless admiration for the player rather than the music. Quantz advises the player to go faster in a tapestried room than a more resonant one without soft furnishings. He encourages slow movements to go a little slower in front of connoisseurs than in front of listeners who might lack the good taste to appreciate all the subtleties of the music. On playing with dancers, Quant says it would be convenient if you can agree about the tempo, but he says it is well known that most dancers understand little or nothing of music and are regulated by their mood and ability. The connection between instrumental music and speech was firmly established by the 17th century, when Monteverdi invented a new exclusively instrumental effect, which he said imitated Plato's description of a man going bravely into battle. This new rhythmic effect used continuous fast repeated notes, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, difficult or nearly impossible to execute with a voice. An important watershed moment has been reached, as instrumental music was now able to show a new virtuosity of its own. This gave rise to a new style, which, as well as giving us many instrumental depictions of battles and fights, was able to express anger in pure sound rather than imitating word rhythms. Monteverdi's 8th book of madrigals was of love and war, and gave him an opportunity to demonstrate these effects, notably in the Combattimento di Tancredi e Clorinda, where he depicts not just the fight itself, but the accompanying emotions of rage and revenge. We take rhythm for granted, but without it, the language of music would be very difficult to understand. Rhythm, in partnership with pulse, contributes to the power of music to affect the emotions. If we understand how it works, we will all be better performers and listeners. And you will see the title page of Monteverdi's 8th book on the screen, I hope, after this talk finishes. It just remains for me to say that I do hope that I'll be seeing some of you later this year at the Cambridge Early Music courses and concerts planned for the summer. Thank you.